You have eaten them. You have seen them stacked in boxes, glazed on trays, photographed on social media. The donut, one of the most recognizable foods on the planet. And right in the middle of it, a hole, a perfectly circular absence of dough that serves no obvious purpose. You cannot fill it with anything. You cannot eat it. It is by definition nothing. And yet every single donut has one. Mass-produced donuts have one. Handmade donuts have one. Donuts in America, donuts in Japan, donuts in every bakery in every country that makes them, all have the same hole in the same place. This was not an accident. It was not a design quirk. Someone decided to put that hole there, and the story of who and why is one of the most debated and surprisingly fascinating origin stories in the entire history of food. To understand the hole, you need to go back to the early 19th century, when what we now call donuts were not called donuts at all. They were called oliekoeks, a Dutch word meaning oily cakes, and they were brought to America by Dutch settlers in the 1600s. These early versions were dense, round balls of sweetened dough, fried in pork fat. They were popular, they were filling, but they had a serious problem that bakers and home cooks had been struggling with for decades. The outside of the dough cooked quickly in the hot oil. The inside, dense and thick, did not. By the time the center of the ball was fully cooked, the outside was frequently overdone, burnt, greasy, or tough. Cooks tried everything. They added more fat to the dough. They adjusted the temperature of the oil. Some pushed nuts or fruit into the center to reduce the mass of raw dough that needed cooking. None of it solved the problem cleanly or consistently. The center remained the enemy, and for nearly 2 centuries, nobody had a clean answer to it. The most famous story of who finally solved it involves a man named Hanson Gregory. According to the account he gave in a 1916 interview, when he was 76 years old and looking back on his life, Gregory was a ship captain from Maine, who at the age of just 16 was working aboard a lime trading vessel. His mother had packed him fried cakes for the voyage. Frustrated by the undercooked centers he had experienced his whole life, Gregory did something simple and radical. He pushed the center of the dough out before frying it, creating a ring. The ring cooked evenly. The outside and the inside reached the right temperature at the same time, because there was no thick center mass to slow the process down. The problem that had plagued fried dough for 2 centuries was solved with a single gesture. Gregory later claimed he used the top of a round tin pepper box to cut the holes. Some accounts say he simply used his thumb. The exact method is uncertain. What is not uncertain is the result: a perfectly cooked ring of fried dough, consistent from edge to edge, every single time. But here is where it gets genuinely fascinating. The Hanson Gregory story, while widely told, is contested. Food historians have pointed out that ring-shaped fried doughs existed in several cultures long before 1847, in parts of Europe, in indigenous American cooking traditions, and in various forms across the Middle East. The hole, in other words, may not have been invented so much as independently discovered, repeatedly, by different people in different places facing the same basic problem. Hot oil cooks the outside faster than the inside. Remove the inside, and the problem disappears. It is a solution so logical that it was perhaps inevitable. Not the stroke of genius of one teenage sailor, but the quiet conclusion that anyone who fried enough dough would eventually reach on their own. The genius, if there is one, is not in the idea. It is in the simplicity of it. The answer was always there, hiding in plain sight, in the dough itself. When donuts became industrially produced in the 20th century, the hole turned out to be structurally valuable in ways nobody had planned for. Ring-shaped donuts stack more efficiently, fry more uniformly, cool faster, and move more easily through conveyor systems. What began as a solution to an uneven cooking problem accidentally became one of the most manufacturing-friendly shapes in the entire food industry. The hole was born out of necessity. It stayed because it was perfect. So the next time you pick up a donut and put your finger through the hole, you are touching the solution to a problem that frustrated bakers for centuries. That is what Common Wonders Revealed is here for. The ordinary things around you are never as simple as they appear. If this changed the way you look at something you have eaten your whole life, hit like and subscribe because we are just getting started.